Welcome to part 2 of teaching using music. So we've dealt with the vocabulary and comprehension. So once students understand the meaning of a song, including the vocabulary, it's time to discuss their opinions. I like to go to a website called Song Meanings. Here people discuss their interpretation of song lyrics. Look at this worksheet for Mean by Taylor Swift. Students can look at other people's opinions and they can read them and decide which opinion is closest to their own beliefs. Pause this video and have a look. You can also ask opinion questions, but be careful, don't ever offer your own opinion. Never tell a student that their opinion is wrong, however much you disagree. Another worksheet using opinions from songmeanings.net is this lesson based on Hand in My Pocket by Alanis Morissette. Pause and have a look at how this worksheet is structured. Question 7 asks students to discuss various idiomatic phrases, and question 8 examines people's opinions about the song. Question 9 encourages students to use the process we discussed before to work out the meaning of the underlined words and phrases. This lesson's for advanced students, but you can edit or simplify the texts. Using other people's opinions as a text to study is a great way to provide students with authentic materials from their own peer group. Another form of elicitation is to ask students to describe their feelings towards the music. Pause this video and read this worksheet. Question 1 personalises the task and makes the lesson completely student-centred. Question 2 asks for the student's reaction to a musical performance. And questions 3 and 4 encourages students to exchange opinions and empathise with the performers. This is a great way to connect with the music in class. Even if the opinions are negative, sometimes that's better. Your keyword for this video today is cricket. If you're using songs to highlight grammar and lexis, remember it's not all about tenses. Pronouns are often overlooked. You can ask students to paraphrase or to write song lyrics in their own words. So in John Lennon's Imagine, the lyric, "I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one," can be rewritten as, "Perhaps I'm optimistic about the world. However, I think there's many other people who share my opinion." You can also look at phrasal verbs. If they appear in a song like Taylor Swift's Mean, students have terrible trouble with idiom phrasal verbs, and this is a great way to look at the meanings and context. Finally, the students can draw on the song to practice their English in a less controlled way. They could give a monologue or a presentation, presenting their opinions. The song Imagine by John Lennon is good for this. Is John Lennon's dream really utopia? Take the lyric, "Imagine no possessions." Perhaps students wouldn't enjoy having no phone or tablet. A pair of students could deliver a presentation of the advantages and disadvantages of John Lennon's dream. But be careful with this song, it mentions religion, and debating the pros and cons of God will more than likely end up in a complaint against you. A pyramid discussion is always a great idea. Bucket List by Nelly Furtado is a good song. Elicit a class bucket list on the whiteboard of 30 or 40 things the students want to do before they die. Give the students 5 minutes on their own to choose 8 personal items from the list, and then they make their own private list. But they must start with the most important, and then the second most important, and so on. Then put the students into pairs and ask them to negotiate a single list between the two of them, starting with the most important item. For example, if student A thinks that skydiving is the most important thing to do before she dies, but student B wants to visit New York City, they must argue with each other and negotiate until they both agree on item 1 on their new list. Then, and only then, can they move on to item 2. Once they all agree on 8 items in the same order, the teacher gives them feedback on any errors she heard, then moves the pairs into groups of 4 and runs the discussion again. Once the groups of 4 all agree on their bucket list as a group, move them into groups of 6, and so on and so on. Hey, if 2 students spend 45 minutes arguing over item 1, you've had a great lesson. The teacher should only participate if communication has broken down in class. Otherwise, just listen out for errors so you can give feedback. Debates can be fun. If there are 2 black and white points of view, the class can be split in half for a debate. Hey, spoiler alert. For example, in the song Let It Go from Disney's Frozen, the class can debate if Queen Elsa is right to leave Arendelle. Or was it her fault that the everlasting winter happened and she should stay and deal with it? A good way to spice things up is a boxing match debate. Split the class in half and each team decides upon a chairperson. Give them 5 or 10 minutes to discuss their arguments. Then both teams face each other and they debate for 3 minutes. Time this on your phone. They can interrupt each other, they can talk over each other, they can argue. You stand at the board and you award points every time a student expresses a point of view, but don't intervene, even if the room falls silent. At the end of 3 minutes, each team should decide together on their strategy for round 2. You can change the scoring system by offering double points to a quiet student if they speak, or 0 points to an over-dominant student who's always speaking. After 3 rounds of 3 minutes, count up the score and decide which team has won. A role play is an excellent way of practicing English. In I Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats, we learn about the true story of Brenda Spencer and the first ever school mass shooting. The class can hold a parole hearing and decide if Brenda, the murderer, should be executed, should remain in prison for life, or should be released. Choose 2 students to be the judge and the prison governor. Each student is given a role, for example, the wife of the school principal who was shot and killed, Brenda Spencer's father, Brenda's psychiatrist, or a girl who grew up with no legs because of her injury. Place the students into 2 groups, those who are generally on Brenda's side and those who are mostly against her. Let them discuss together Brenda's crimes informally before the parole hearing, and then group the students into 4, 2 who are sympathetic to Brenda and 2 who dislike her. Let them argue it out for a while. Then stage a parole hearing. The judge and the governor get everybody's point of view. They act as chairpeople. They listen to the arguments and then finally they decide on Brenda's fate. The teacher should stay impartial and not get involved at all in the debate. Just allow the students to control the whole thing. So here's some points to remember. Start with your lesson aims. Choose a song to help achieve these aims. Don't select a song because you love it. There must be a reason and it has to fit in with your course forward plan. What a waste to just use a song as a gap fill, only listening to the song, looking at the lyrics and filling in missing words. Instead, make a whole lesson out of it. In fact, you could use a song as a class project, as long as the students present a piece of work based on the song at the end. Read the lyrics so carefully. Sul will not be sympathetic if you upset students with offensive words and topics. In fact, remember the acronym PARSNIP. These are areas in which to be super sensitive. Think before you cover the topics of politics, alcohol, religion, sex, narcotics, isms, that's racism, Buddhism, communism, and finally pork or porn. Try to use music the students can connect to. The Beatles wrote some great lyrics, but they split up before your students' parents were born. Selena Gomez also writes great lyrics, and she's still alive. The students will be far more motivated to learn a song that they love and that they can relate to. Use multimedia. Play the video. Students love the visuals, and it often puts the song into context and helps the class activate their schemata. Lots of my music lessons involve multiple worksheets. Let's save paper, and together we'll save planet Earth, and we'll save Saul's photocopying bill. If you're photocopying too much, your course director will be on the phone to me. You can project worksheets onto the whiteboard, or have students share. They can use their notebooks for any writing. As a rule of thumb, one piece of A4 paper per student per lesson is probably too much. Finally, some of the songs discussed in this video are available for you to use on Saul's Dropbox account. I've checked with the Performing Rights Society, and you are allowed to use music for educational purposes, and you have my permission to use any of my material however you like. If you're inspired to create a great lesson using music, please share it by emailing it to me. I hope this has inspired some of you to have a go and use songs in your classroom. Make sure all your technology works before you teach. Give me some feedback on any successes you've had and any ways we can all improve. I hope you've enjoyed this, and thanks for listening.